The courtroom is suffocating. An invisible weight presses down on me, like the air has been sucked out of the room. Decades of my life hang in the balance as I glance nervously at the judge, his expression a stone wall, revealing nothing of what he must be thinking. My heart pounds against my chest, a frantic little drum, each beat reminding me that this is it, the moment of judgment. My husband stands across from me, a smug grin stretching across his face, eyes glinting like steel as if he's already defeated me. I try to focus on the lawyer's voice, but it's all a blur. I remember snippets, fragments of words pouring out like a cascade, false accusations, manipulation, DNA test results. Suddenly, it's as if I'm watching a horror movie on mute. I can see my lawyer gesturing dramatically as she launches into a tirade about the betrayal and the lies. But I'm stuck in another world, spinning back to the day it all began. How did I get here? The room dims as I'm transported back to a sunlit afternoon, the smell of lilacs wafting through the open window, dancing with the warm breeze. It was still new, that innocent blush of love, and my husband, Mike, had pulled me into his orbit with the charm of a skilled magician. "You've got to be kidding me," I laughed, folding my arms, a teasing smile playing on my lips as he tried to wrangle my cat, Shadow, who was having none of it. "You seriously think you can just charm your way into his good graces? Just give me a chance." "I promise I'll win him over," Mike shot back, his eyes twinkling with mischief, the corners of his mouth turned upward as if plotting some delightful scheme. "I'll be the best stepdad ever. You'll see." I remember rolling my eyes, but deep down my heart soared at the thought of a family life I had always longed for. Days turned into months, and I couldn't believe my fortune. My life felt like a perfect canvas painted in optimistic shades of hope. His spontaneous sweet gestures, like bringing me flowers just because, or organizing surprise weekend getaways, had me wrapped around his finger. He was everything I ever wanted. Someone who could make me laugh, even on my most mundane days. But beauty can mask ugliness. I soon learned that the very charm I adored was a guise. As Mike drew me in deeper, the fabric of our life together began to unravel. Piece by piece, I found myself isolated, separated from friends and family. I'd invite them over, but he'd always dismiss it. "We don't need anybody else. It's just you and me, babe. Isn't that enough?" I'd smile and nod, convincing myself that this was his way of showing me love. Yet, that assurance faded the day I found out I was pregnant. Excitement bubbled within me, and I thought it would bind us even tighter together. He seemed thrilled in that moment, his arms wrapping around me, lifting me off the ground with glee. But slowly, excitement turned to dread as the days wore on. The sullen aspect in his eyes began to surface. "This baby is going to change everything," he'd muttered darkly during quiet dinners, his voice low and dripping with tension. "Change for the better." I'd countered, desperation tinging my words. "We'll figure it out, Mike. Together." I just wanted to hang on to the hope I felt that day under the lilac-scented sky. My innocent heart couldn't see what I was blind to. He was spinning a trap, crafting an entanglement of power with a facade that kept me dependent emotionally and financially. The first violent argument happened after the baby was born. Still remember how it felt when he yelled, "You're just a burden now," he screamed, his voice cutting through my soul like jagged glass. My heart shattered, but I couldn't let it show. I tried to maintain the facade of a united family, convincing myself that it was a rough patch, nothing that love couldn't heal. But the reality gruesomely unraveled further, betrayal seeping through the cracks. A few months later, a phone call changed everything. "You're not the mother," he gasped, throwing the DNA test in my face, his voice rising like a tide of venom. "You do realize I can expose you for what you really are?" And suddenly, standing in this courtroom, I felt as if I was out of my body, observing a distant tragedy unfold. All those moments of hope, joy, and love now turned to ash. I was shaking, teetering on the edge of despair as I faced the reality of what we had become, a warped version of a fairy tale. "You're delusional. You will pay dearly for this." The glare he threw at me felt like a knife cutting deeper. And just like that, my wings began to tether. I had trusted him for so long. How naive I was. And now I sat alone in the wreckage of my happiness, navigating this darkened world alone. Image prompt. The protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with long, wavy brown hair, is sitting in a courtroom, her hazel eyes wide with shock and despair. She wears a simple navy blue dress that seems to blend into the shadows of the room. In the background, her husband, a tall, sleek man with short black hair, stands smugly with an icy smirk on his face. The courtroom itself feels oppressive, dimly lit with heavy wooden furniture, a scattered sense of chaos lingering in the air. I remember the way the walls of our home began to close in around me, each conversation becoming a straw that broke the camel's back. I had always been a social creature, thriving on the connections I built over the years. Yet, little by little, Mike found ways to suffocate those very ties. "Why don't you just call Mia and see if she wants to come over this weekend?" I asked one day, flipping through my phone, a hopeful lilt dancing in my words as I settled onto the couch. The sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the space with a soft glow. It felt like the perfect day for friends. "Do you really think that's a good idea?" Mike's voice oozed skepticism as he leaned over, snagging the phone from my hands. "It's clear that Mia doesn't respect our family. Remember last month? She just kept hammering you with questions about me." His fingers brushed possessively over my phone screen, a gesture that sent a shiver of discomfort racing down my spine. "She was just trying to get to know you," I insisted, biting back my frustration. "It doesn't mean she doesn't respect us. I'd rather not have her here at all," he shot back, his eyes like two cold marbles. The way he looked at me like I was a problem to be solved sent a pang of fear through my chest. I thought about how lonely I felt, how each conversation turned into a hostage negotiation, and my heart raced with the realization that I was losing ground. "We're fine as we are, right?" he continued, gesturing dismissively as if swatting away a fly. "I'll always support you, but I don't see any reason to invite someone in who doesn't belong in our lives anymore. Those days are behind us. It's just us now." I forced a smile, nodding, even as my heart led me elsewhere. Of course, he was right. That's what I kept telling myself. It was comforting to think of us as a unit, a singular entity meant to navigate the world together. Yet, as the days passed, I felt like I was stepping out into a vacuum, searching for echoes of my old self. The isolation continued to deepen, a chasm widening between me and the life I once knew. One evening, a month later, I stood in the kitchen, slicing vegetables for dinner. The rhythmic sound of the knife against the cutting board provided a strange comfort. The aroma of garlic and fresh onions filling the air was luscious, yet it couldn't drown out the growing dread that gnawed at my insides. "Mike, do you mind picking up a few things from the store?" I called out, hoping to spark a moment of connection, just something to break the silence. "Seriously?" He scoffed from the living room, his tone sharp enough to slice through the warm atmosphere. "You couldn't have thought ahead. What kind of a wife are you?" I blinked, hurt flooding my senses. "I thought maybe we were a team. I figured you could pick up those things while you're out." "Exactly. I'm working all day. The least you can do is take care of the small stuff here," he shot back, his voice dripping with disdain. "It's not like you're busy. It's not like anyone else is calling for you, so why not cook and clean?" I pressed my lips together, trying to find solace in the delicious odors surrounding me, but I could already feel my cheeks heat with mounting shame. The truth was slowly becoming clear. I rarely left the house anymore. I no longer engaged with friends. My once boisterous social calendar dwindled to a vague memory. Days turned into months, and I found myself slipping deeper into an existence ruled by Mike's whims. I remember standing near the window one rainy afternoon, gazing out at the droplets sliding down the glass, as if watching my own dreams drown on the pavement below. "I'd love to go to the park this weekend," I suggested one night, my voice timid as I approached Mike on the couch. He glanced at me over the top of his game controller, his expression molded from dissatisfaction. "Why? All you'll do is complain about how boring it is." "Let's just stay in," he replied without a hint of warmth. "We can binge watch another season of that awful show you like. Isn't that enough?" I turned my gaze to the floor, the weight of his words sinking into me like a stone. "What happened to us, Mike?" I whispered, a tremor clawing its way into my throat. "Nothing happened. You just need to accept our new reality. This is how life is. Just you and me. We don't need anyone else. Isn't it better this way?" The nonchalance in his tone cut like a knife, leaving a hollow echo in its wake. I felt the chill wrap around me like a shroud, and I did what I always did. I smiled and nodded. I told myself he was right. Our little world was better without the distraction of other people, better for us to grow closer. But inside, my heart withered, feeling stripped of its life force, trading connections for the suffocating grip of dependency. Each day I stayed silent, chipped away another piece of the person I once was. Slowly, my dreams morphed from vibrant colors to muted shades of gray. I realized just how ensnared I had become. My life no longer revolved around my choices, but around a manufactured bond that smothered me. I had become reliant on him for everything: the finances, the decisions, even my sense of self-worth, leaving behind the echoes of laughter and love I once shared with friends. Image prompt. The protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with long, wavy brown hair, stands in a dimly lit kitchen. Her hazel eyes downcast, a worn chef's knife in her hand. Surrounding her are vegetables cut into uneven pieces, and the warmth of the cooking stove contrasts with the cold emptiness radiating from her. In the living room, her husband, a tall, sleek man with short black hair, sits back on the couch, eyes glued to a video game, his expression indifferent and casual, highlighting the disconnect between them. The rain gently taps against the windows, casting a melancholic atmosphere throughout the space. The oppressive weight of my loneliness clung to my shoulders like a heavy cloak as I wandered through our home. Remnants of what used to be my sanctuary now tainted with memories of laughter that had long ago faded. The days of idyllic sunshine felt like a distant dream, and every creak of the floorboards reverberated with the haunting echoes of the past, reminding me of both joy and despair. One late afternoon, as the skies broke into a torrential downpour, I felt restless as I scoured through cabinets and drawers, tangled receipts, forgotten notes, and old bills littered in the disarray. The scent of rain seeped in through the open window, a soothing yet somber reminder of the outside world I had become estranged from. Then, amidst the clutter, a glint of something caught my eye, a nondescript slip of paper hidden beneath a stack of outdated bank statements. My heart raced, a wild beat echoing in the stillness around me as I pulled it from its hiding place. It was a receipt, smudged slightly from its years of neglect, but still legible. "What the hell is this?" I murmured to myself, confusion wrapping around me like an unwelcome fog. My fingers trembled as I read the words printed clearly, a grocery store itemized list from a date I distinctly remembered as a night Mike claimed he was working late. Each familiar product sent a pang through my chest. It was a lie masked by the monotony he had spun for me, laced carefully into our everyday existence. "Mike, are you here?" I called out, trying to keep the rising tide of panic at bay. I wanted him to emerge, to give me clarity, but an eerie silence remained in the house. I turned the receipt over, recognizing the grocery store's name outside the city we lived in. It clicked in my mind. I had driven past it only weeks ago. My heart raced as confusion transformed into anger. I could taste the bitterness curling at the back of my throat. I felt the familiar onset of a headache beginning to thrum behind my eyes. When he finally appeared, casual and oblivious in his grey hoodie, the laundry basket cradled in his arms, I confronted him, my voice teetering on the edge of defiance. "Why do I have a grocery receipt from a different town?" He glanced up, eyebrows knitting together in a practiced display of innocence. "What are you talking about?" he replied, the feigned confusion like cold ice stabbing at my soul. His confidence was soaring, and it infuriated me. I held the receipt out like a talisman against the darkness closing in. You weren't home that night. You said you were working late. Come on, babe. You really think I'm going to explain myself over a stupid receipt?" "You're being dramatic," he scoffed, shrugging it off like water on a duck. "I don't even remember what happened that night." "Of course you don't, because you were lying to me." The words leaped from my mouth, and I regretted giving him the weapon of my anger. He stood there, a mix of patronizing pity written across his face as he folded his arms and leaned against the doorframe. "Seriously? This is ridiculous, even for you," he said, the casualness of his tone making my skin crawl. "You're going to get worked up over something so insignificant. Just let it go, for Christ's sake. You've turned into someone so paranoid. Why are you trying to make me feel crazy?" I demanded, my voice strained but urgent, like a sailor fighting against a raging storm at sea. "I just want answers. I need to know what's going on. Is this why I what?" He cut in, the edge of his voice sharpening like a knife. "You're grasping at straws. If you keep this up, you'll drive yourself into the ground." He stepped closer to me, an intimidating presence as he lowered his voice. You don't want to end up like that, do you? You know what happened last time you spiraled? His warning hung heavy in the air like the storm outside, the oppressive atmosphere filling the space between us. Each word dripped with the venom of manipulation piercing through my thoughts. Am I really just a burden to him? I bit my lower lip to stave off tears. This small sliver of information was more than just grocery items. It was a crack in the wall of my reality. The unease twisted my gut as realization dawned. My world was built on manipulated trust, cloaked secrets, and entwined lives that I barely recognized. All those cozy nights and flawless moments I clung to like a life raft now felt farcical. I was alone on this island of lies, and every breath I took carried with it the taste of betrayal. Will you just drop it? Mike snapped, drawing an irritated huff from his chest. You're overreacting, and it's exhausting. Exhausting, I echoed, my voice barely above a whisper. You think me looking for answers is exhausting? You think covering your lies with more deceit is ordinary? Stop making a mountain out of a molehill. He turned, dismissing me with a wave of his hand that felt like a slap across my face. As he walked away, leaving me reeling and shaking with the raw remnants of disillusionment, my heart sank lower into the depths of uncertainty. My intuition screamed foul play, and the nagging sensation of dread clawed at my insides, assuring me that I was right to question everything. Nothing felt real anymore. I had ventured too far into his labyrinth of manipulations. Image prompt: the protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with wavy brown hair loosely tied back, standing in a dimly lit kitchen with a crumpled grocery receipt in her trembling hands, her hazel eyes wide with confusion and fear. The warm colors of the kitchen contrast sharply with the stormy world outside, where rain pours down heavily against the glass. In the background, a tall man with short black hair dressed in a grey hoodie leans casually against the doorframe, arms crossed, with an annoyed look that encapsulates disdain. The tension in the air is thick, almost tangible, capturing the moment's raw intensity. The rain had turned into a steady drizzle, the rhythmic patter against the windows echoing my nervous energy as I paced the living room. Mike had left for work, and the house felt eerily quiet, as if the walls were watching my decision. How was I supposed to uncover the truth buried beneath years of deceit? My heart raced, and desperation clawed at my insides, urging me to take action. I had to become a detective, to piece together the fragments of our fractured reality. The shattered illusions weighed on me like a burden, and I was ready to swing the pendulum back. I grabbed my laptop, knowing I had to start somewhere. I'd heard of audio recorders that could easily be purchased online, and in that moment, I felt a new surge of determination. I quickly ordered a compact voice recorder, an unassuming device that could easily slip into my purse. As I clicked through the checkout process, my thoughts spiraled into a frenzy of possibilities. Would I really have the courage to use it, to confront him? Doubts flooded my mind, but fear was a cage I was determined to break free from. Later that week, as I sat nervously across from Mia, my old college friend, at our favorite coffee shop, the aroma of roasted beans enveloped us. She was bright-eyed, her laughter lifting the corners of my mouth, even in the midst of what felt like an uphill battle. The cafe buzzed with chatter, the sound blending with the clinking of cups as people conversed, all vibrant moments I had so easily forgotten during my time with Mike. I'm so glad we finally got together, Mia smiled, sipping her latte. It's been ages. You know, I kept wondering why you vanished. You used to be so lively. I nodded, the memories of our wild university days flooding back, but my heart felt heavy under the weight of truth. Things have been complicated, I murmured, grasping my cup tightly as if it were a lifeline. I've been thinking a lot. About Mike. Mia noticed my hesitation and leaned in, concern etched on her face. Is everything okay? You can talk to me. Her sincerity dissolved the walls I had built so carefully. I don't think I know him anymore, I whispered, fear curling at the base of my throat like smoke. I found something. A receipt. And it doesn't add up. I think he's hiding things from me. What? She gasped, leaning back, eyes wide. What do you mean? I ordered a voice recorder to catch him in the act, I explained, excitement lacing my words. I have to know if he's lying, but I don't know if I can do this alone. I feel so lost. Have you tried talking to anyone about it, like a lawyer? Her brow furrowed, concern mounting. They can help you navigate this. You need someone who understands the law better than we do. I shook my head, uncertainty bubbling. I wouldn't even know where to start, I admitted, feeling the ground beneath my feet shift. I don't have the money to pay for one. Let me help, Mia urged. I have a family friend, an old lawyer. He's retired now but still takes on cases occasionally. I can reach out to him. He may guide you. And just like that, a flicker of hope reignited. Really? I looked at her, gratitude swelling in my chest. That would be amazing. Later that week, after another weighty night navigating Mike's indifference, I found myself sitting across from Tim, Mia's lawyer friend. He was a scruffy, grey-haired man with deep-set eyes that seemed to hold years of wisdom and weariness. The office's walls were adorned with old photos, a relic of a life spent fighting for justice. I heard you need some help, Tim said, his voice low and gravelly. He leaned forward, fingers steepled. Mia filled me in on your situation. Thank you for meeting with me, I said, my throat dry. I don't know where to begin. Let's start with the basics. Tim leaned back in his chair, a parchment-like folder resting in front of him. You said you found a receipt? I nodded eagerly, pulling out a copy of the crumpled paper from my purse. It's from a grocery store. That isn't even in our area. He said he was working late that night. I think he was lying. Interesting. Tim scrutinized the receipt as if it were gold, his brow furrowing in concentration. And you're thinking he could have been seeing someone? I don't know, I admitted, anxiety coiling tightly in my stomach. Or maybe he's hiding something bigger, like his financial dealings or even worse. Tim glanced at me, his expression deepening. Let's not jump to conclusions just yet. Collect more evidence. Install those recorders, and I can help you determine if it's worth pursuing legally. I managed a weak smile, the tension in my shoulders loosening slightly. You really think so? Absolutely. I've seen cases turn on just the smallest of pieces. Every detail matters, he said, resting a steady gaze on me. But you must also be careful. If it catches on, it could get messy. That night, alone in our home, the air felt charged. I sat on the edge of our bed, the recorder nestled tightly in my hand. I was terrified, but I knew I couldn't retreat into fear anymore. I had Eliza, Mia, and Tim cheered me on, and the truth was finally within reach. I wasn't just the protagonist of my own story, I was a fighter. Each moment I waited to press record felt like standing on the precipice of a great unknown. Yet, I was ready to immerse myself in this dangerous game. Secrets don't hide forever. Image prompt. The protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with long, wavy brown hair, sits on the edge of a neatly made bed, clutching a small voice recorder nervously in her hand. Her hazel eyes reflect determination and fear. The dim lighting casts soft shadows around the room, filled with disarray, clothes folded imperfectly and scattered books. The background features a photo of a smiling couple, the ghost of happier times. In the dim light, the walls around her seem to close in, a symbol of her internal struggle against isolation and her fight for the truth. I stared at the voice recorder tucked away in my purse, my heart hammering as the sun dipped below the horizon. Today was the day I would confront Mike. I felt a swirl of apprehension in my stomach, the internal battle raging between fear and determination. I was finally ready, armed with my piece of evidence. I would unearth the secrets entwined within our life. I waited until late evening, the walls surrounding me echoing with unease. It felt like an eternity before I heard his familiar footsteps thudding against the hardwood floor. I took a deep breath, gathering the last remnants of courage. When he opened the door, Mike looked tired, the day's weight clinging to his shoulders. Hey, I'm home. What's for dinner? He asked, an all-too-casual tone masking the tension that lay beneath. Mike, we need to talk, I said, my voice steady yet laced with urgency. He frowned, the corners of his mouth tightening. About what? About the grocery receipt I found. I pushed further, swallowing hard as I took a step closer. You said you were working. How can you explain this? He raised an eyebrow, a feigned innocence shadowing his features. A receipt? Is this seriously what you're throwing at me? You're acting crazy, you know that? No, I said, my voice rising slightly. You can't keep lying to me. I want to know the truth. His laughter echoed between us, cruel and dismissive. You've really lost it, haven't you? grasping at that flimsy piece of paper like it somehow proves I'm a bad husband. Just admit you're being paranoid. Paranoid? My heart raced as anger bubbled up within me. I felt the fire ignite. What was he even talking about? This is about trust. And I don't trust you. You said you were loyal. You told me you'd never lie. He stepped closer, invading my personal space, his smirk infuriating. Do you honestly think anyone is going to believe you? That you're in some twisted state of hyper-awareness? You're just embarrassing yourself. I opened my mouth to argue, but it felt like I was screaming into a void, my frustrations reflected in the coldness of his gaze. You're the one who should be embarrassed, I replied, my voice trembling. You're still hiding something from me. I know it's true. Right, he scoffed, crossing his arms defensively. And I'm sure you're going to uncover that grand conspiracy in your head. It's laughable. You think pushing me against a wall with baseless accusations is going to help. You're acting like a madwoman. A rush of irritation surged through me, frustration releasing in hot waves. You don't get to twist this around. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just trying to find answers. Will you stop? You're being irrational, he growled, taking another step closer, leaning down, invading my space. If you don't drop this nonsense, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'll do. I will cut you off completely. I swallowed hard at the threat rolling off his tongue. A desperate fear encased my heart. What does that even mean? My voice wavered as uncertainty clawed at my mind. Just that, he snarled, frustration leaking from every pore. I won't continue with this charade, entertaining your insanity. You could end up with nothing. No money, no house. Do you really want to go down that road? It felt as if ice poured through my veins. His words were sharper than any knife. The room began spinning, the reality of my situation swimming around me like a toxic cloud. You're making me feel crazy, I whispered, the fear gripping me tightly. Is this what you wanted? Don't turn this back on me. He stepped away, arms crossed in defiance, a satisfied expression lingering on his face. You're the one creating this hell, and I'm not sticking around for your theatrics. I'll be the one to walk away. You should think carefully about your next move. Standing there, I felt the walls of our home closing in around me, each piece of my confidence shattering under the weight of his accusations. My heart pounded in my chest, a loud reminder that I was losing this battle. Are you seriously going to stand there and threaten me, Mike? I said, my voice trembling with disbelief. You can't just bully me into silence anymore. Watch me, he replied coldly, his expression carved from stone. You think you can confront me? In your state? You're just making things worse for yourself. People will see you as nothing more than an emotional wreck. If you keep this up, you'll end up alone. It'll be your fault. And with that, he turned, the door creaking as he left me standing alone, my heart twisted with despair. Nothing resonated but the silence echoing around me, each second ticking by like a pendulum weighing down my loneliness. I lost that fight, but I still had the recorder. It bore witness to our confrontation, evidence of his gaslighting. As I sank to the floor, I resolved to ally with the truth. No matter how hard he tried to bend reality, I wouldn't be his puppet anymore. Image prompt. The protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with long, dark, wavy hair, stands in a dimly lit living room, her hazel eyes blazing with determination. She faces her husband, a tall, sleek man with short black hair, who leans against the wall casually with an arrogant smirk. The tension in the room is palpable, the oppressive silence thickening the air around them as shadows creep across the floor. The decor of the home, once warm and inviting, now appears cold, reflecting the fracture in their relationship. The days melted into chaos, a swirling blend of noise and anger that consumed my reality. I'd hoped that confronting Mike would bring clarity, but instead, I felt more trapped than ever. The empty silence following that argument echoed through our home, growing heavier with every passing minute. I didn't just feel cornered, I felt hunted. Several days later, after I'd gathered enough strength to face him again, I returned home from running errands to an unsettling sight. Mike's car was parked in the driveway, an omen that sent my heart racing with dread. I stepped into the house, the familiar scent of his favored cologne mixed with stale despair greeting me at the door. "Mike?" I called, unease coiling in my stomach. No answer. I walked farther inside, the chilling stillness wrapping around me like a constricting snake. As I entered the living room, my heart dropped into my stomach. There he stood, arms crossed, with a suitcase by the door. You're making this more complicated than it needs to be, he said, his voice strained yet firmly in control. What do you mean? Confusion swept over me, the pulling of reality becoming almost dizzying. I can't do this anymore. His mouth tightened into a meticulous line as if he were delivering the death toll of our life together. What? Are you serious? I stepped closer, my voice trembling. What are you talking about? It's your attitude. You won't let this go. I can't walk around on eggshells, always worrying about whether today's the day you come off the deep end, he stressed, a brusque edge to his words. It's not about that. It's about finding out the truth. My pulse quickened, heat flooding my cheeks. Are you really going to just kick me out? You need to go. He leaned back, his gaze hardening like stone. You think you can just push me around like this? It's done. I echoed, disbelief mixing with panic. What about the kids? What about Shadow? I knew I was pleading, but fear clawed at my insides. I'll take the kids and the cat. He shrugged, a chilling nonchalance cloaking his words. You won't have a leg to stand on with this DNA fiasco hanging over your head. This is your chance to leave quietly. I felt the world tilt beneath my feet, my breath hitching in desperation. You can't take my kids, I sobbed, the thought tearing me apart. I won't let you. Watch me. His words cut clean through, finality laced within them. My knees went weak, and I stumbled back, bracing myself against the arm of the couch. Get out while you still can, he barked, his expression emotionless. Asterisk, 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 I had never felt more alone and defeated as I stood outside that house, like a shipwreck adrift in open waters. The sounds of the world swirled around Mikar, horns blaring, a neighbor's dog barking, the distant laughter of children playing nearby. Yet all I could hear was the pounding of my own heart, echoing the harsh reality of my isolation. My belongings, clothes, mementos, everything that defined me remained trapped within those walls, a prison I had yet to escape. With nowhere to go, I reached for my phone, desperately dialing Mia. I'm out, I said, my voice breaking with the weight of anguish. He's kicked me out. I don't know what to do.
What?
Where are you? I'm coming to get you, she said, urgency rippling through her tone. I'm just sitting in the car by the curb, I whispered, the reality flooding back when I saw Mike standing in the doorway. His cold smirk, a haunting photograph, burned in my mind. He's still watching me. Stay put. I'll be there soon, she reassured me, and I hung up, too filled with dread to think of anything else. The next hour passed like a slow-motion train wreck. I glanced in the rearview mirror, watching as Mike's silhouette shifted from window to window atop the living room couch, his demeanor casual and relaxed while I was left feeling like a stray dog abandoned on the side of the road. The moments of isolation morphed into unbearable agony, and when I heard a soft knock at my window, it jarred me from my spiraling thoughts. Mia stood there, worry creasing her brow, her long hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, her eyes widening as I stepped out of the car. Get in! She gestured toward the passenger seat, her voice firm but caring. I slipped inside, the warmth of her presence a balm. I can't believe he did this, Mia murmured, indignation simmering in her tone. It was more than just disbelief. It was betrayal. The relief of having a friend by my side was woven with the heartache of losing everything I had known. I keep thinking he'll come to his senses, I murmured, the tears finally spilling over. But he may not want me back. Not after all this. Don't say that. You'll figure this out, she said, her voice steady. I clung to her words like a tether amidst the storm. I'll help you find a place to stay. We can figure it out together. But those reassurances didn't stifle the tangible fear gnawing at my spine. As the car pulled away from the house, I glanced in the rearview mirror, watching the home I once loved fade into the distance. The suffocating weight of uncertainty coiling around my heart with every passing moment. Later that night, I found myself in a small guest room at Mia's, the walls closing in around me. I sat on the edge of the bed, the emptiness echoing louder now than it had before. The thought of losing my kids weighed heavy on my heart. Images of their laughter, the warmth of their tiny bodies wrapped around me in blissful hugs. My phone buzzed, snapping me back to reality. The message was from Mike, ominous and threatening, as if he had orchestrated the whole ordeal. You've made a terrible mistake, he had said, his confidence radiating through the screen. You'll pay for this. My breath hitched as I read it over and over again, the gravity of his words sinking in deep. It was no longer just about me. It was about everything I could lose. The children, my pets, the love I'd given so freely now turning against me. They thought they had destroyed me. If you hate bullies, hit the like button, I whispered to myself, the mantra reverberating in my mind like armor. I was determined now, the fire igniting deep within. This was far from over. I wouldn't let him take the life I had built, nor the children I adored beyond measure. My resolve solidified. I was ready to battle. Image prompt. The protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with long, wavy brown hair, sits on the edge of a cramped bed in a dimly lit room, her hazel eyes filled with despair. The room is sparsely decorated, a stark contrast to the warmth of her previous home. She clutches her phone tightly in her hand, a message from her husband showing across the screen. In the corner, a suitcase remains unpacked, symbolizing the displacement she feels, and the distant sound of laughter from children outside reminds her of what she stands to lose. Walking into Tim's office felt like stepping into a sanctuary, filled with the scent of old leather and the faint aroma of brewing coffee. The walls lined with shelves of law books towering like sentinels, a calming reminder that there was a path through the chaos. Mia had connected me with him for a good reason. He didn't just understand the law, he understood the power of the truth, and I needed that now more than ever. "Let's see what we can uncover," Tim said, his voice warm, yet gravelly, as he motioned for me to take a seat across from him at the wooden desk, worn smooth by years of use. I felt both nervous and electrified. "I'm ready," I replied, my heart racing. "I need to know everything. There has to be more to Mike's lies than just that DNA test fiasco." Tim flipped through the folder he'd prepared, documents fluttering like leaves in an unseen breeze. "Let's start by looking at what you have. The receipt you found. The messages from Mike. We need proof. Something concrete." I rummaged through my purse, pulling out the crumpled grocery receipt, a slip of paper that had turned my world upside down. I laid it on the desk between us, my heart pounding. This is where it started. "It's from a grocery store outside of town. One Mike insisted he'd never go to," I explained, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. Tim examined it closely, brow furrowing. "You say he lied about where he was that night. Did he mention anything else that seemed suspicious? Just small things, like how secretive he was with his phone, and how he suddenly changed conversations whenever I walked in. The gaslighting. He twisted everything." My breath caught in my throat. "I just feel like there's so much more." Tim nodded thoughtfully. "What's crucial now is that we gather more evidence. If there's a chance he's mixed up in something criminal, it'll reveal itself. How about we start with a little digging?" "What do you mean?" I asked, a sense of urgency flicking in my mind. "I have access to databases. With just a few clicks, I can see if he's been involved in any suspicious financial transactions or even legal issues. If he's hiding something big, we'll find it." His eyes glinted with determination, like a seasoned warrior ready for a fight. "Okay, let's do it." I leaned forward, a surge of adrenaline coursing through me. Tim set to work, typing into his computer with swift fingers. The click-clack of the keyboard filled the room, mixing with the soft hum of the fluorescent lights buzzing softly above us. I watched intently as the screen illuminated with a series of records. The personal information was categorized, detailed, revealing layers upon layers of Mike's life. After what felt like an eternity, Tim tilted his head, focusing on the screen with narrowed eyes. "Here we go. Let's see what we have." He scrolled down, and my heart raced faster with every line he read. Suddenly, he leaned back, a frown forming on his face. "This doesn't make sense. There are a lot of entries here, all pointing to an address, not ours. It seems like he's had transactions occurring almost weekly. But why?" My heart dropped. "What do you mean? What are you seeing?" "There's a woman's name associated with these purchases. It seems like they've been doing this for a while. She lives in the same area as that grocery store you mentioned." "Are you kidding me?" I gasped, the reality of his betrayal washing over me like cold water. "Who is she?" Tim's brow furrowed deeper, glancing back and forth between the screen and my anxious gaze. "Let me run a background check. If they've been sharing finances, it could mean, well, he could be hiding a lot from you." He continued typing, and dread settled in my stomach like lead. As I focused on Tim's words, a thought struck me. What if he really did have someone else? What if he has been leading a whole other life? The images of everything I'd lost flickered through my mind. My kids, my home, my sanity, fractured pieces of a shattered dream. Tim, I said urgently, if this leads to anything, I need to know. I can't be blindsided again. Don't worry, he assured me, his expression calm. Whatever it is, we will expose it. You deserve the truth and I'll help you find it. After a few nerve-wracking moments, my phone vibrated in my pocket and my heart leaped into my throat. It was Mia. I pressed the button on the screen hesitantly. Hey, I hope I'm not interrupting anything, she said, her tone laced with urgency. I just got some information about that grocery store. It's not just any grocery store. They've run into some trouble recently. Arrests have been made. What kind of trouble? I asked quickly, Tim leaning in with rapt attention. Fraud. They've been tied to some money laundering cases, and, oh God, there's even been talk of a hidden operation. We need to dig deeper, she said, breathless with the weight of her words. You're caught up in something larger, isn't it? My heart hammering in my chest. I looked directly at Tim. Can you dig into this grocery store? Find out what connections Mike has. Absolutely, he answered, determination sparked in his eyes. We'll find out what he's hiding. As I hung up, my thoughts raced. The evidence was revealing itself in layers, and we were inching closer to discovering that nuclear secret hiding in plain sight. Mike had been creating more than just a deception. He was entwined in something far more sinister. I could feel the tide starting to turn, and for the first time, the shadows that cloaked my life faded slightly. I was ready to confront the truth, whatever it held. It was time to put an end to Mike's dominion over my life once and for all. Image prompt. The protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with long, wavy brown hair, sits anxiously at a cluttered desk in a dimly lit office. The small room is filled with legal books, and a flickering computer screen illuminates her determined hazel eyes as she leans forward, gripping a stack of documents. Across from her, a grey-haired lawyer with a furrowed brow scrutinizes the screen with intense focus. The air is charged with an intensity and urgency, reflecting the seriousness of the investigation unfolding before them. I spent the next couple of weeks meticulously crafting my plan. While the truth of what Mike had done gnawed at my insides, I knew I had to bide my time, to lay low until the perfect moment presented itself. Tim, Mia, and I had gathered enough evidence to expose him, but I was ready to outsmart him first. It was time to reclaim my power. The slight chill of early autumn descended as I reached out to Mike. I wanted to appear vulnerable, a shadow of what he'd once known. I'd let him think he'd won. Hey, can you meet me for coffee tomorrow? I sent in a text, a wave of anxiety crashing over me at the thought. He replied almost immediately, Why? What do you need? I don't think we can go back. I just want to talk. I wrote back, attempting to instill a semblance of genuine emotion into my words. I'm confused about everything. Can we meet? His response was as sharp as a knife, dripping with disbelief. Fine. Tomorrow at the cafe we used to go to. The following afternoon I arrived early at the cafe, which bustled with laughter and the warm aroma of freshly brewed coffee. I settled into a corner booth, the safe haven of anonymity enveloping me. As I waited, I couldn't help but admire the way the sunlight filtered through the large windows, casting a golden hue over the room, a stark contrast to the shadows that loomed over my life. When he arrived, I tried to subdue the rush of adrenaline as he strolled in with his trademark swagger. Mike was impossibly suave as usual, all sharp edges and confidence, his demeanor an unsettling reminder of the charm that had drawn me in so long ago. Look who decided to make an appearance, he sneered, sliding into the booth opposite me. What's this about? Taking a deep breath, I adopted the facade of defeat, my voice laced with defeat. I miss who we were, I said, forcing my eyes to glimmer with unshed tears, tapping into the remnants of the vulnerability he used to exploit. Really? Because it sure didn't feel like you missed me when you left, he retorted, folding his arms across his chest, the scoff issuing like the hiss of a rattlesnake. At that moment, I needed to play my part. I know it was my fault. I shouldn't have doubted you. Let's just start over, I said, pouring as much sincerity as I could muster into my words. I've been reflecting on everything, and I know I owe you an apology. His eyes flickered with a mixture of surprise and skepticism, and I relished the way the corners of his mouth twitched almost imperceptibly. I'm surprised to hear that. You've been such a pain in my ass. Can we just put it all behind us? I leaned forward, still maintaining the quiver in my voice. I just want a chance to make things right. You're really trying to play the victim card, he countered, his skepticism morphing into intrigue. After everything, yes, I nodded earnestly, feeling a warmth beneath the surface that masked my steely resolve. I think it would be good for all of us. For the kids. He squinted, scanning my eyes for signs of weakness. You think that gets you off the hook, huh? Just like that? No, I swallowed hard, timidly lowering my gaze. I just thought maybe we can re-establish some trust between us as co-parents. I want to do this together. His demeanor shifted, the glimmer of interest sparking. Okay, let's say I want to start over. What's the first step? A sly smile curled at my lips. The moment had arrived. I think the first step is being upfront with each other. No more secrets. The words rolled off my tongue like honey, sweetened with hidden venom. I know you've been seeing someone else. I found those receipts. But I want to hear it from you. His reaction was instantaneous, the color draining from his face. He stammered for a moment, on the verge of a denouncement, before quickly regaining his composure. You've got it all wrong. You don't know what you're talking about, he retorted, a touch of defensiveness creeping into his expression. But I pressed on, each word calculated, serving as a bait on the hook. Whatever it is, Mike, I just want to hear it. I can forgive you, can start over. Just be honest with me. You can do that, can't you? His eyes darted around, the weight of the cafe's buzz surrounding us deafening. He was trapped, cornered by the very atmosphere he thrived in. Maybe I didn't want it to end like this, to have you snooping around. I didn't think you would pull something like this, he stumbled, leaning back against the booth with unnerving resistance. Then let's fix it, I insisted, my tone dripping with conviction. I'll work on myself and we can actually be civil. Just tell me everything about the receipts. He hesitated, the proficiency of his lies crumbling before my eyes. They don't mean anything. You shouldn't read so much into it. Are you really going to gaslight me again? I asked, the confidence swelling in my chest. The trap was set. I could almost see him edging toward the precipice. Just then, the barista bustling around delivered our drinks. Warm cups of coffee illuminating our table with the steam rising like ghosts into the air. Careful now, I remarked, sipping nervously but maintaining eye contact, keeping him on the edge of his seat. What's that supposed to mean? He asked, irritation dancing on his features. I leaned in, whispering a touch too sweetly. It means you're about to face the consequences. You've spent too long ruining my life, but I'll be damned if I let this end without exposing who you really are. At that moment, I could see the flicker of recognition in his eyes, a rooted fear. My little game had revealed its true colors, and I wasn't backing down now. I had to decide, forgive or destroy? Tell me in the comments, I said, smirking slightly, letting the question linger in the air like tension before a storm. I sensed the shift. The power had returned to my hands, and I wouldn't allow him to escape this trap unscathed. Image prompt. The protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with long, wavy brown hair and hazel eyes filled with determination, sits across from her husband, a tall man with short black hair, at a bustling cafe. The atmosphere is charged, steam rising from their coffee cups on the table, shadows dancing across their tense expressions. She leans forward with an inviting yet steely aura, while he sits back defensively. Brows furrowed, caught between skepticism and the dawning realization of her trap. The cafe's bright ambience contrasts sharply with the storm of emotions brewing in their tenuous encounter. The courtroom scene was set for my grand reveal, the stage for the final act of this twisted play Mike had orchestrated. The air hummed with a tension that felt electric, a just before the storm moment. I'd gathered my evidence, stacked my cards high, and today was the day I would lay them all before the world and expose the truth that had been buried too long. As I took my seat, I felt eyes on me, judgment and curiosity intertwined. Whispers touching upon the air like butterflies flitting around an unsuspecting flower. My heart raced, but I took a moment to immerse myself in the surroundings. Wooden chairs creaked under the weight of my peers. The distinct scent of polished wood mingled with a hint of musty paper. I could hear the faint rustle of the defendant's papers, a soft symphony of anxiety that mirrored my racing pulse. Mike stood across the room, his posture perfect, exuding false confidence under the watchful gaze of the judge. The smugness on his face set my nerves alight, but it also ignited a flame of resolve deep within me. This was it. The moment I'd been waiting for cast back into focus like a spotlight illuminating the truth. My lawyer stood by my side, her posture radiating confidence as she addressed the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to present new evidence that directly contradicts the claims made by Mr. Lawson. The judge nodded, his expression unwavering. Proceed. With a deep breath, I held my composure and stepped forward, the weight of all my emotions coalescing into this moment of sheer power. Your Honor, I have a voice recording and documents that expose the lies my husband has spun around me, I declared as I stepped toward the podium, my voice ringing clear. Objection, Mike's lawyer interjected, a slick veneer of disdain dripping from his lips. Your Honor, this is hearsay. But I raised an eyebrow, a smirk creeping onto my lips. It's not hearsay if it actually exists. I gestured to my attorney, who produced the digital recorder, playing back the confrontation between Mike and Mia's recollection of blurred truths laid bare. The courtroom fell silent as my voice filled the air, the tension stifling. Listening to Mike dismiss my valid concerns as paranoia felt like a rebirth. My heart raced with each word. And you think pushing me around like this? It's done. The room collectively shifted, heads nodding toward Mike, the disdain in their eyes palpable. The judge's brow furrowed as he leaned forward, intrigued, the authority in the room growing heavier. I continued, seizing the moment. Mike, you spun a tale of deception that cost me not just my peace but my children as well. You manipulated every aspect of our lives, and I will not stand for it any longer. Mike's face darkened, the smug grin he'd worn earlier melting into a mask of anger. This is absurd. You're twisting everything, he shouted, desperation bubbling to the surface. Am I, or are you just terrified of the truth? I shot back, the fire in my words igniting the courtroom. The truth that you betrayed not just me, but our children by playing house with someone else. I pulled out the fake receipts, my hands trembling but steady. These transactions from that grocery store led me to the truth I'm sure you hoped I would never find. Gasps echoed around the room, and for a moment it felt like time suspended as Mike's expression morphed into a blend of disbelief and irritation. Your Honor, I continued, gesturing to the judge, I have documents showing his financial activities tied to a woman living in that same neighborhood. This was no accident. He's hid the truth in plain sight. Lies, he spat, his voice rising with volume. You're grasping at straws. How dare you claim that why don't you take a look at these receipts? I interrupted, allowing the gravity of those ordinary pieces of paper to seize the court's attention. They exposed the facade you thrived behind. I felt the room magnetic, eyes darting back and forth between Mike's flushed face and the evidence that crystallized my claims. The air was thick with the taste of betrayal, a bittersweet reminder of all that I had lost. The trust, the love, even the shadow of our life together. Babe, you're overreacting, he attempted again. But the tremor in his voice belied the calm superiority he tried to project. Am I? Because this is no longer just about me. I volleyed back, savoring the moment of strength I finally reclaimed. This is about what you owe our children, the integrity you've betrayed. Time to face the consequences. The judge glanced from me to Mike, clearly mulling over the implications of my words. Mr. Lawson, he began, would you like to respond to these allegations? What is there to say? She's clearly lost her mind, Mike replied, the bravado reining itself in a tone that now sounded desperate. Watch how quickly your armor chips away as the truth shines through, I declared, determined to pierce through his facade. My friends and allies help me unveil your deception. Mike, you thought you could silence me, but the truth will always find a way to shine. It was as if an invisible force linked us all, my strength anchoring me to this moment, a collective breath echoing throughout the room. As Mike shifted uncomfortably, I sensed his power waning, unraveling before our eyes. And with that, the final curtain fell. I had exposed everything I had once hidden beneath my isolation. His cold elegance evaporated, revealing the shambles of the man he truly was, a cowardly abuser of love and trust, and I, the victor of my own story. Image prompt. The protagonist, A woman in her early 30s with long, wavy brown hair stands defiantly at the center of a courtroom, her hazel eyes sparkling with determination. She wears a deep, navy dress, the fabric giving her an air of elegance. In the foreground, her husband, a tall man with short black hair, sits with a strained expression, caught between tension and disbelief. The judge, an older man wearing dark robes, watches closely from his elevated seat, the courtroom filled with onlookers whispering in shock. The atmosphere brims with intensity as the truth finally unravels under the spotlight. I stand at the edge of this strange new chapter, watching as the remnants of my past unfurl like faded photographs. It's been a year since the court hearing where I exposed Mike and unveiled the shattering truth of our relationship. His face, now a fleeting shadow in my memory, is one of defeat, his mask of charm shattered, revealing the ugly core beneath. We were both stripped bare before that judge. The evidence I gathered, the receipts, the DNA results. I had fought for my life and my children against a man who'd wrapped us both in a web of lies. I never saw it coming, the defining moment that pulled us apart. But now, a much clearer picture has emerged, that of my new strength in the face of adversity. My fingers tremble slightly as I pour that first cup of coffee each morning, the rich, warm scent swirling around me like comforting arms. I think back to that day in court and how far I've come since then. I glow within it, a pride bubbling with each sip. I went from feeling like broken glass, fragile and sharp, to a thick, robust steel beam, solid and unyielding. Mike didn't just lose, he was dismantled. I hear whispers of his fall from grace. Rumors pulsate through our small town like gossip wafting in the breeze. Word has it he was evicted from the upscale apartment he'd loved to show off. No longer the picture of success, he faced the harsh truth of financial ruin squared against the consequences of his actions. The man who once paved a path of lies has found himself walking an entirely different one, the path of loneliness. One afternoon, as I walk the park with my children, the sun gilding our laughter in soft golden hues, I see him from a distance. He wanders the street, clothes tattered and sagging from his once noble frame. I feel a wave of emotions wash over me, empathy and pity. From a distance, I can see the dark circles beneath his eyes, the frowns setting deeper into his face. That mask of confidence was long gone, now merely a reflection of a man without purpose, a husk left behind. I'd be lying if I said I felt nothing. My heart aches for the good times we once had, the moments that felt so grand and bright only to be clouded by deception. But those feelings now seem like echoes from another lifetime, muffled by the truth I fought to reveal. "Look, Mum," my daughter echoes cheerfully, tugging my sleeve gently. "Can we feed the ducks?" "Of course, sweetheart," I respond, the warmth of my children igniting a flicker of joy within. We stroll to the pond, their laughter dancing through the air, mingling with the gentle rustling of leaves overhead, a stark contrast to the somber reality I'd just witnessed. I notice a few ducks waddling towards us, their feathers glistening, and the splashing of water creating sweet melodies against the backdrop of our peaceful space. With every piece of bread I toss into the water, I revel in how we've transformed, so vibrant and alive. But Mike is not. The night spent alone in his empty apartment, the abandonment, even his so-called friends, scatter away like fleeting wisps of smoke. I picture him alone at his kitchen table, staring into a glass of cheap wine, memories of triumph taunting him like old ghosts. The empty echoes of his existence serve as a stark contrast to my vibrant life now. Even his social media presence dwindled to nothing as his disgrace plastered across the digital landscape, leaving him exposed and vulnerable. I can't help but feel a surge of triumph within me. We are free. I am free. But more than that, the energy swirling in my home is filled with laughter, honesty, and a bond forged through trials that shaped us into what we are now, warriors of our own lives. The love I pour into my children's lives each day nourishes both their confidence and mind, something Mike foolishly thought he could take away. Moments like these remind me to keep my heart open. I meet with Mia regularly, our friendship blooming like an unchained vine, and our laughter echoes around the lives we craft on our own terms. We share dreams, ambitions, and a determination to shatter ceilings, launching each other up rather than letting anyone drag us down. As the years pass, I take control of my life in ways I once thought impossible, finding a job that allows me to be present for my children while promoting my own goals. I finally have that peace I never thought I would possess again, the kind that fills all the empty spaces Mike left behind with love, support, and resilience. Feeling excited for the big gala this weekend? Mia asks, excitement bubbling over a new plan we'd crafted. Absolutely. I can't wait. I smile wide, thinking about how fitting it is that I'll glow brighter than ever while everyone he knows watches me shine. He can look on from the sidelines. I've stepped into my power. Now the woman who once cowered is now a beacon of light. And as I carry the warmth of my days into the future, the shadows of the past don't haunt me anymore. They have faded into lessons learned, paving the way for wars won, not just battles, but the fight for integrity and love. There's a symphony of hope, laughter, and love that fills my heart and echoes throughout my days, a reminder that happiness is mine to hold tightly without any of his chains. Subscribe for more karma, I whispered to myself, eyes twinkling with laughter, focused upon the horizon of what's yet to come, while the splashing of the ducklings serves as celebratory applause for resilience, for strength, and for the newfound joy of life. Image prompt. The protagonist, a woman in her early 30s with long, wavy brown hair, stands joyfully at a park surrounded by blooming flowers and sunlight, her hazel eyes shimmering with happiness. She is dressed in a vibrant summer dress, laughter gracing her lips as she tosses breadcrumbs to a group of eager ducks swimming in a small pond. Her 2 children play happily nearby, their smiles bright, while the remnants of a broken past fade in the background, signifying the strength and newfound joy surrounding their lives.